All right.
Awesome. All right. Welcome, Dana. Appreciate you for being here with us today. And I'm just going to let you start off by introducing yourself for those listening that may not know who you are, and just tell us a little bit about your story and how you discovered microdosing.
Thank you. I'm so excited that I can actually be on here and kind of share my story. And so I'm Dana, and I live in like the PNW area, and I have a couple of kids. I have two kids, a 2-year-old, or she's almost 2, and a 5-year-old, and a 14-year-old from my husband's first marriage. And we just kind of, just a little bit of my sort of backstory. I had kind of been battling with depression for most of my 20s and stuff, from emotionally abusive relationships. And it wasn't until after my second child that is when I discovered microdosing and also like journeying macrodosing as well. Just a second.
This is a podcast for moms by moms, so no worries at all.
Sorry. We are currently having like no TV. We're taking a break. And so it's kind of hard to find things to do when mom is busy.
Like, what are we doing for a little, huh?
Yeah. Anyway, so it was after my second, who's almost 2, is when I really found microdosing and journeying. I really enjoy macrodosing every few months, and so I enjoy that. And then I do microdosing as well. But yeah, I kind of stumbled upon it. My husband and I have always been sort of more holistic sort of approach to our health, and we, of course, have been waking up to all of these like health things that we just need to have in our lives, and have realized like this is what's going to make us, healthier, and our whole family healthier and heal. And I was kind of getting really stuck in my depression again, and he did a lot of research, and he could tell that we were all just really hurting. And he kind of stumbled upon mushrooms, and he knew in the past that they were could be, for healing purposes and things. Not that he like partaked in using them for healing purposes, but and I had never before, maybe I think once before when I was a teenager, but it wasn't anything major or for like healing trauma or anything like that. And so and so we just kind of decided to start doing a lot more research about that. And we kind of just found a source through the mycology community, and started to try to learn how to cultivate and all of that sort of stuff. So and so we cultivate a little bit, but not a lot of it's like medicinal gourmet, like lion's mane and things like that. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
That's a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing. And that's cool. And yeah, I'll talk to you a little bit about, I had a couple of questions about, because I did see some of your pictures of you growing some other, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about that. But so what would you say prior to microdosing, like, is there anything that you could speak on that you think that maybe you relate to other mothers that might be listening in regards to, you mentioned depression, and maybe just like give a picture of maybe what life was like before and then what life is like after? Like, what is the contrast? What are some of the biggest differences that you've seen in regards to like prior to discovering microdosing and integrating that into your life? Are there things that are different in your lifestyle and your parenting and your spirituality, just anything specific that stands out to you that you could share?
Yeah, oh, most definitely. So much has changed. I mean, when you're living in survival mode all the time, and like fight or flight mode all the time, it is tiring, and it's frustrating too, because you kind of know like it's not like the external world's fault. Like this is kind of you like internalizing all this stuff and not processing anything. And that was a big thing, is I was going through all of these different experiences and not processing anything, and holding on to a lot of guilt within myself, and not forgiving myself for going through a lot of experiences that I yeah, I chose to put myself in, but also happened to me, and yeah, and so it's just a big contrast in the sense of like I kind of know who I am better, and I was able to kind of open up to my truths and heal a lot of my emotional abusive trauma that I was holding on to, and I had actually been affecting my marriage doing, and my parenting, and I parent in such a more compassionate and empathetic way now, and there's just so much more love instead of the generational trauma of shame and guilt that I was kind of put upon in my life, and or that I just endured and experienced, and so just based on that, just based on that alone is just a huge thing, is like standing up for myself and knowing like who I am and how I want to parent, and regardless of how people are going to think about how I'm doing all of that, and which there's a lot of judgment in the world, which so it's really difficult to still even now kind of get past all of those sort of things. But yeah, just little things, like even my productivity has changed. I've started organizing our house more, and decluttering, and just creating just more simple spaces. And I homeschool. We decided to start homeschooling, and before I had kids, I was trained in Montessori teaching, and so I have my certification in that, and child development and stuff. And so when the pandemic happened, we decided to kind of shift gears and really see how that would work out. And we really started coming into our own and figuring out this is really where we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to be living our lives. And yeah, I meditate now. I have always been a really big exerciser, and I got my husband to start working out with me, and so we work out together, and it's just there's so much more joy and gratitude that we see throughout our daily lives, that we literally will have tears coming out of our eyes, because we're oh my gosh, it's just so beautiful to see this, and there's still very much challenging moments. I have been going through some things currently emotionally or whatever that have been kind of affecting our family a little bit, but we're going through that, and we're processing through things, and we're communicating a lot more, which is a huge thing. Because when you don't communicate and you keep things pent up inside, it creates mental instability for yourself, and just a chemical imbalance within your nervous system and stuff like that too. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, one of the biggest benefits I know for me, you had mentioned with the parenting, is I feel like it just gives you a different perspective on yourself.
Mhm.
I kind of call it an observer effect, to where you're able to kind of hover above situations and things, and kind of see yourself reacting or responding, or see yourself doing certain things, whereas before you were in it where you couldn't even see, it gives you that perspective, in situations where you're disciplining, or in situations where the kids might be fighting together, or whatever's happening, or if your spouse is disciplining the children or whatever. It gives you just a whole other viewpoint. For me, it's brought up for me, and it's so weird too, specific things from my past, or especially my childhood. My mother, she passed away when I was 17, but she struggled all her life with alcohol addiction and drug addiction, and there's just a lot that she had me when she was 38. And so she lived a pretty full life, and a crazy, whatever life before I came on the scene, right? And so I had always been somebody who would just sweep things under the rug. They even tried to, through some things that I went through, this isn't about me. This episode is not about me, but there's some things that I went through in my childhood. I remember going through therapy and just being the person like, oh, I'm good, I'm okay. And like, that was like my whole, I'm good, I'm okay. And I just kept going through things in life. I'm all right. Oh no, it's fine. I'm good. I'm like, whatever. So I was
Yeah,
like a
it's fine.
stifle. I was like, I guess I just like push it all down and try to just be the smile, you know? And I guess I was like in the denial that I had anything that needed to be like let out or healed or anything like that. But it was so
Mhm.
weird when mushrooms came into my life. I first had accidentally took I took a dose that I didn't know would actually like put me on a full journey. So that was one thing, right? So that was cool and weird at the same time, and learning a lot. But and then I learned about microdosing, and as I started it, I just noticed that my brain, I just started to think differently. Like my thought patterns were different. Like I started to react differently, respond differently, and then but in regards to the traumas of the past, I started processing them and reflecting on them, and it's like almost like things would come up. It's like things will be brought up. Oh, how do you look at this? Or what do you think? But you know what I mean? Like, it gently like brings up things. Whereas in the past, it might've been like a traumatic thing to bring it up. It just kind of like brings it up and gives you another perspective on it and asks you, it's almost like you start to be more reflective about things that happened to you in the past.
Totally. You can like ask your I mean, in a perspective, your higher self is almost literally asking you like, what are you doing right now? You know, it's sort of thing. But just regards to the parenting, like, yeah, like the whole just observer mode and just like being able to notice like what you're doing in that moment. Because oh yeah, like before, oh man, I remember telling my husband like, I don't think I'm literally seeing red, but I don't think I know what's coming out of my mouth when I'm in those moments sometimes. And that's really scary, right? That's like not necessarily safe for yourself or for your kids either. And so for that to greatly change and to be able to either stop yourself or to when, you know, you start to say it and you're like, oh crap. But I think what's really important is when things like that do happen, because of course you're still healing and, you know, trying to regulate emotions and all of this. And so like me, myself, right. And so like things like this still happen. And so what's really important, I think, is the apologizing afterwards, is coming back around and not putting blame on them, being like, I apologize for what I did, you were blah, 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 but more like, I apologize, my actions were out of line, you know, and like taking ownership for my own emotions being out of line. And that just shows your kids so much about ownership of your own emotions and feelings, and knowing that it's not the person that you're projecting it on, that it's yourself.
Right.
So
And
yeah.
that's huge. Just like the awareness that it gives you a higher level of awareness to where like, even if, yeah, in the moment, maybe you said something that you didn't mean to say or reacted in a way, you at least have that awareness to reflect and look back. Whereas maybe in the past, you know, we didn't even realize, or we weren't even aware that we had reacted in a way that would harm someone else, or, you know, cause some kind of an emotional damage or something like that. You know, so
Yeah.
the awareness that it gives you I found is really amazing. And then, you know, between our relationship, I feel like between me and my husband, it's helped us to, you had mentioned communication, you know, and it's helped us to communicate better with one another. And really we've become like spiritual accountability partners together with each other, because, you know,
Yeah.
we both use the mushrooms, and it helps us both to grow individually, but there's like a synergy between us that didn't exist before. So I feel like it's helping us to evolve together on the same page, you know what I mean? Which I think can save a lot of marriages. Cause I mean, so many people, I mean, everyone's stressed out right now about various things. You know, most people are stressed out about finances and the economy and everything that's happening right now. And it's like the husband is in his own world, the wife is in her own world. And it's like, this is something that can bring unity together, even just within the home, within relationships, that can help people to just see things differently, but see things differently together. But then I don't even know how to really put it into words. Like, it's like, it helps you to get on the same page. You know what I mean? In regards
Oh,
to like the energetic perspective.
yes, totally, completely. I like got the chills because my husband and I actually really encourage journeying together, and like literally like laying in bed and cuddling and just going through all of it together and being there with each other that whole entire day. And we have, there is that like whole synergy thing is like so crazy. Like we don't even need to like talk to each other. We already know like exactly what we're going to do. And we can like talk about something that's, I can mention something that's going to be like a month in advance. And he's like, I was already thinking the same thing. Like we're going to be getting tattoos for our 5-year-old now that I'm not nursing anymore, but we're going to be getting tattoos for my 5-year-old. And I was like, oh, I was thinking about getting, we're doing a honeybee because her nickname is Honeybee. And I was like, oh, I'm thinking about getting like this bee and like kind of watercolors. And I was thinking about behind my ear. And he was like, I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, it was just like, I had never even have mentioned it before, you know? And so it's just really crazy, just little things like that. But even like just the big picture things, like we've just come together so much. And honestly, like, he never doubted, but I had gotten to a space within my mental health that I was not sure if like I wanted to be in my marriage anymore. And it was really sad. And it's kind of interesting, but like when we decided to try mushrooms, it literally woke me up so much that it like saved our marriage. And I'm not saying like mushrooms itself did, but like just the sense that like I was able to like see how bad I was hurting and affecting all of these people, and how much people loved me and like wanted to be here for me, you know, like it was just crazy. Like you get into such a state sometimes that you know that everyone loves you, right? But like it's different. Like you're still in this state of like, oh, like I'm not even loving myself, so how can people even love me? And so to be able to see that full amount of love energy coming through is just, it's beautiful, completely beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, it's almost like it's a I mean, they're consciousness alignment tools, they're energy alignment tools, they heal you physically. Like I believe that there's even depths of them that we don't completely understand. And I'm excited for
Yes.
the renaissance that we are, you know, I believe we're at the beginning of, you know, some people call it the third wave, or that, you know, as more and more people recognize that these are medicine, just the different studies that are going to be done on them to really extract and pull out the full range of benefits that there are, you know, because there's literally so many. And it's amazing that you can get such a deep impact even from, and that's what I was going to ask you. You said that you guys do both the macro and the micro.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say in your experience has been, I was gonna say, what's the difference between the journeys that you take versus the microdosing? But some people might be hesitant or might wonder, you know, well, can I get the full range of benefit if I'm dealing with depression, or if I'm dealing with whatever mental illness? Can I get the full range of benefits from just microdosing? Or what would you say to somebody that thinks that, well, maybe they need a full journey? Like, what's your whole opinion on that in regards to like who needs what and when and how do you know? And
yeah, I'm very much a believer in following your intuition and your gut, and that can be a really hard thing to do, because if you don't necessarily trust yourself and some of the decisions that you make, then that can be really hard to do. But I personally started out with a macro journey, and it was last Mother's Day, and it was the gift that I did not know I needed. Like it was crazy. Like I didn't even want it, but it was exactly what I needed. But so I started out with the macro, and then I later learned more about microdosing and stuff. And honestly, in my experience, I really feel like if you want to freaking kick depression's butt, you gotta like just go at it and like go face your fears of whatever is gonna come up. And that's me and my personal experience. But I do think microdosing is a really great way to begin to kind of help yourself kind of be with the mushroom. And so it's not necessarily, like I like to say, like a small dose can lead to really big changes. And I mean, a macro dose obviously is a really big dose and can create really big changes like really fast, and but sometimes it needs to start out slower, and just to get used to maybe yourself trusting yourself with the medicine, and your body sort of seeing how your body is going to react to it. And which, I mean, I've never really had anyone tell me that it hasn't reacted in a super negative way, at least microdosing anyway. But macrojourney is much different because you face so many more things, and it's a little bit more intense. It's obviously more intense because it's perceptual. So and yeah, and so it's way different in that way. But I personally, I really like the macro journeys. Just really kind of kick my butt, and they're like, okay, this is what you really need. Like, we just did one a few weeks ago, and I had been really struggling with an emotional connection to cannabis, and for many years, 20 years, I'm gonna like, for a long time. And it was my way of connecting my anxiety and keeping that kind of in my life. And we just did a journey a few weeks ago, and I've known that I've needed to make a shift and change in this habit that I've had for a really long time. And oh man, my husband just helped me through so much. And he watched me connect with my higher self and like talk with her or myself, however you want to perceive it. And just, it was crazy. But I ended up, purging, and that's sort of my way of releasing a lot of my energy. And it was from what I have learned about myself. And but I ended up purging, and it was so beautiful. This sounds really gross to some people, but I thanked the energy. I was like, thank you for what you provided for me, but I don't need you anymore. I don't need you to provide whatever you're trying to provide for me anymore. And my connection just instantly went, and I felt so light and free. And I have not I'm a little bit choked up right now, because it's literally been a long time that I have been wanting to release this energy. And I have not really had, of course, there's, it's a habit and stuff, so there's ups and downs, but I've really not been using it in any way to get past my anxiety or my hard emotions in the day. And so, macro journeys are just kind of help you in that way to kick your butt. But microdosing is really great for I love the day, just the day to day, and being able to in a couple months really use integration habits like meditation and yoga and earthing. Oh my goodness, earthing is so great. But different integration is key to both. But I think especially to microdosing, because it's harder to see the changes as fast, right? You have to kind of step back and take time to see them and stuff.
Right. Sometimes. Yeah. And I'm glad that you brought in the integration, because it's, although it's something that, like you said, with the macro journeys, you might experience a very drastic change, or some of the studies they're doing in Johns Hopkins and some of these other places, they're like, oh, okay, we tested where, they're taking people on therapeutic journeys, and I'm not really sure how much, but I know it's definitely macro, right? But they're finding that even months down the line, the depression and things like that have still been, lifted and stuff like that. So with the microdosing, and even with macro too, there's integration that's just constant. It's almost like your life, it gives you the tools to make just a lifestyle of integration, whereas
totally
you started meditating, right? And if you're somebody listening and you're not really a spiritual person, you might just find that you become more tapped into your spirituality. And that's what I believe about it, is that it gets us reconnected with the source of, and it doesn't matter who or what you believe in, it's just whatever source that you believe that you came from or created you or brought you to this planet, it helps you get reconnected with that, and it increases your intuition, and as a result of that, it's like your life gets more aligned and in line, you know what I mean? But then integration is so important, because a lot of times people are so trained by, the pharmaceutical industries and companies, and the way our society is like, oh, okay, something's wrong, pop the thing, then it's gone. Or, take the pill and it's like a band-aid for whatever's happening. But with this, it's more of like, you have to be ready to, like you said, face the fears, or face the things that have happened to you in the past, or face whatever aspects of yourself, the shadow self, a lot of people call it, in different ways to be fully free from that. Because do you really want to live a life where you're just constantly just running, running away from the thing that happened in the past, running away, just taking the pill and just, trying to dull out whatever feeling, whatever negative feeling you're having. But what if you could actually be free from that? What if this is a way, there's like a portal for you to actually like find true freedom and true, like, I feel like people in our society, they don't really even know what true joy or true freedom feels like, because we're just so weighed down by just all the problems and all the things that happen to us, and just all these, it's just like, it's like a callus of just like our whole life that's happened to us. And I feel like the mushroom and many other plant medicines as well, helps us to like crack that and get it off, and just feel like, I feel truly like, prior to me learning about this medicine and using it, I didn't know what true joy and fulfillment was in my life. Like today I could say that regardless of whatever's happening, like I can be, things can be happening in life, but within myself, I feel that solid like joy, that solid happiness. Like I know things will happen, things are going to come and go, things are going to pass or whatever, but I had that solidity of like knowing. And also with going on the macro journeys, you kind of like see what the fabric of reality is all about. You kind of see like, okay, we are kind of in like this matrix thing here. And, for those of you who aren't sure what we're talking about, you might find out soon, right? But it helps you to just stay in the present moment more, be more in the now, and be more in, I find that I don't, these days, I don't let life, I'm not finding life pass me by as much as I used to, I guess. Hold on, let me see this thing. This means, we got about 10 minutes left on this little thing. We got to record it. But anyways, so yeah, being in the now present moment and just finding my anchor back to that constantly, just helps me to like recenter myself. And I never had that ability prior to, and then discovering breath. And there's just so many different things that it's helped me to, it puts you on the path, it's not the magic pill, it's not the magic solution, right? But it's the path that can get you to what's already within you. You've done the healing that you've experienced. You have everything within you to heal yourself, but there's some things in the way of that, and that's what the mushroom helps with, is helps you to move those things out,
It's a great tool to have. I mean, and it's so weird for me to even call it that, like, because lately I've just been having this deep respect for the mushroom. And it is, there's someone that I think we both follow on Instagram or whatever, but she talks about being with the mushroom, and I really, really, really love that, because this isn't like what you're saying, like this magic pill or this cure or a replacement for the pharmaceuticals that are out there and stuff. And I think throughout microdosing and stuff, you tend to kind of come to realization with that as well. And you stop running, like you almost actually run towards and like not away from anymore. Like you almost want to like face all of this stuff, because and maybe not at the same time, but like you do want to face all of this stuff. You end up being like, oh wow, like I feel so much better when this is all lifted off of me. And so it is more of like, you're like, okay, I'm going to run towards this now, instead of being like, and
well, it's like
running
that,
away.
Once you experience that lightness, because I know after my first macro journey, the day after, afterwards, and then the day after, I was like, oh, like what in the world? Like it
was like 3 weeks for me. It was like 3 weeks afterwards. It was
it's like whatever afterglow effect, or I don't know, but what it is you're literally releasing a lot of energy that was on you and stuck. And we can go into talking about whatever the aura or energy field or whatever, but all of those things that are literally, it exists, you can't see it, but that's what's causing a lot of these mental disorders that we fall into or that we experience is because of what we can't see, but it's
Yeah.
literally letting us to, or allowing us to release that. So once we feel that freedom or we feel that lightness, we're like, okay. And it's not in a way either where it's like, oh, because, when they put it into Schedule 1 and said that it was just like heroin and everything else, and like, oh my gosh, high probability for abuse and addiction. It's like, no, like
Completely the opposite.
it's you have to gain courage to use it because of what it does. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's totally a relationship. It's totally like you're forming a relationship with the medicine that you're taking, and it's almost like you're communicating with, people say that mushroom, the genetics of a mushroom are closer to a human, right, than human DNA than an animal. And so we still don't fully really understand what mushrooms are exactly, but we know that they're a technology, really. They're like a sentient technology that, might not be conscious like we are, but they're conscious. They're actually discovering that mushrooms are conscious in their own way. And so they hold information. They're amazing. I could talk about them, which I'm sure you could for longer than we
I could.
I have to do like episode 2. But
I just want to say though that like they also the mushroom has definitely helped me become connected with Mother Earth. And so I just see and I can like feel the energy with the plants and just with the soil and the trees. And there's a whole story behind me and trees, but anyway, and and just the connectedness that you feel like kind of what you're saying, like you almost are the mushroom, right? I mean, you kind of are, because we are all connected. We're all like this oneness, like we all however you want to see it, come from the same thing. And so it's, oh man, the connectedness and just being able to know that like, oh, I am this, like I already, like, of course we work in a symbiotic relationship because like we have like same compounds that work together. And like, it's just, it's cool. It's like crazy cool.
Right.
But yeah, I could talk about it forever.
So let's end it off with this, and then I'll let you share if you want to share with people where they can connect with you and all of that in the next couple of minutes. What would you say is the biggest thing? I know one of the biggest hurdles that I had to even just sharing that this is what I was doing was the whole stigma thing, was the whole, okay, society thinks this is a drug. If I'm doing this, society's going to think that I'm doing drugs. Or like, for me personally, my mother-in-law, she, I would share articles and share different things about mushrooms, and she's like, you shouldn't be sharing that. And like, was like trying to plant all these like fears in my mind and things like that. And so did you deal with any of that in regards to like the stigma? Because I know that's one of the things that holds a lot of women back, is they might think that it's a drug, or maybe if they figured out that it's actually not and they've been lied to, which is what happened, maybe they still have that little bit of like, well, oh, what's my family going to think, or what's this person going to think, or, what would be your advice for someone that's in a situation like that? Or what was your way of getting past that?
I think you just have to have the courage. Like it took me a little while, even to tell like my like close friends and family. But eventually, I had an opportunity to interview with a local station here, and I decided to just take the plunge. And I had only been microdosing for like maybe 5 months or something, but it basically opened me up to be like, it was one of those things where you just kind of, I was like, you know what, this is ridiculous. Like this is helping me and me mother and me be a wife and just myself. And why wouldn't you want to share that? And I've always been kind of up for sharing my story or journey, quote unquote, or whatever. And so just in things that I've dealt with, and I've always been very candid on my social medias about stuff like that for the most part. And so it was just kind of one of those things where like, I was like, okay, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to do this. And after that interview, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to open up. I'm supposed to, this has to get out, because if it doesn't, then how are we going to heal the world? Really, in retro, like, in a big perspective. But yeah, I think I've made a lot of connections with moms through through opening up and stuff too. And a lot of respect, actually. Like, even though you would think there's a lot of judgment behind it, I've had some mad respect come back and be like, wow, thank you so much for sharing this. And, people not realize like how beneficial psilocybin mushrooms and like just the gourmet medicinal type ones too, like lion's mane and chaga and reishi and all those, turkey tail and all those ones and stuff. And but yeah, just to be open. Like, it's so much better to be vulnerable than it is to kind of keep it inside, because the more vulnerable you are, the more that people are going to see you,
Right.
see you and see your truths. And you should be able to stand up for who you are, regardless of how anyone feels.
And your healing should be the top priority, right? Because
yeah,
your family needs you, your generations need you, future generations need you. Where can they find you online? I think it's about to cut us. I think it's about to cut us.
You can find me on Instagram. You can find me. I am earthmedicine.mama. And I just talk about microdosing and just mob life. And I have a lot of like homeschool type things on there. And
Apologies for the abrupt ending, some technical issues. Anyhow, I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening to the end. If you got value out of this episode, the most important thing and meaningful thing that you can do for me and just for so many other women and so many other people is share this episode, whether it's on your social media or if you just share it with a friend or a family member or someone who you think could benefit from the conversation. The most important thing that we can do is talk about this topic and spread awareness so that we can stop and end the stigma around these beautiful substances that are actually medicines, and normalize it and open the minds of the masses so that we can make these more readily available, and of course decriminalized for people to be able to use and to safely heal. So thank you so much, and I will see you in the next episode.